Hey friends, it's Chrissy Kirkman. Welcome to the Old School Food Freedom Podcast, where we are about to kick it as old school as it gets with how God created us to live free. Before we begin, I want to share a powerful anonymous testimony from one of our Prayers for Loved Ones group participants. Her words just capture the heart of what so many families are walking through and how God is meeting them right where they are. She says, "Finding balance has been a lifeline for me as I support a loved one in their eating disorder recovery. The Prayers for Loved Ones group specifically has been such an encouragement to me, and the group facilitators have shown such compassion and care. I've also benefited greatly from listening to the Old School Food Freedom Podcast and love how it is both Christ-centered and up-to-date on evidence-based information about disordered eating and eating disorders. I highly recommend Finding Balance as a wonderful resource for anyone desiring faith-based encouragement while supporting a loved one struggling with an eating disorder." That is such a powerful reminder that even in the hardest seasons, God is moving. He's still moving. He's still healing, and he's still drawing hearts back to himself. So today, the question is, why is it so hard for moms to talk about body image and food at home? In our episode today, we're going to explore the silent struggles that many mothers face, practical ways to start healthy conversations, and how a mom's own healing journey can become a powerful example for her daughter. So whether you are a parent or a mentor, a bonus mom, a grandma, or simply someone who cares about the next generation, this episode is going to offer hope and tools to break that cycle. So Chantia, welcome to the Old School Food Freedom Podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so glad you're here. I love this topic. I love that you do this work. I am so excited to share this and just go deeper into this with you today. So first, let me tell my friends about you. Chantia Sturman is a licensed therapist and the founder of Darling Arise. So sweet. We're going to go into that, the title of it, but Darling Arise, a step-by-step course designed to help moms raise daughters who feel confident in their bodies and at peace with food, while gently healing their own relationship with both. Okay, that's a good hand-in-hand pairing. At its core, Darling Arise is about more than body image. It's about freeing women from the generational burdens of shame so they can focus on what they were created to do, walk in their God-given purpose, and raise the next generation with clarity, confidence, and peace. With a background in eating disorder treatment and Christian-based counseling, Chantia brings both clinical expertise and a compassionate, grounded voice to every conversation, equipping women with the tools and encouragement to pursue healing that lasts. So good. Love it so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so you already know we kick each episode off with a question of what old school item or experience from back in the day do you miss?
I remember being in 8th grade and listening to music videos in the morning, which I don't even know if they're around. I mean, I know they're around, but it doesn't feel the same.
It's not.
Just those nostalgic, cheesy music videos. I loved it. I could just think back to certain songs that I used to listen to before school.
Yes, I love that so much. Okay, back in the day is different for a lot of people. So
Yes.
so when you say cheesy songs, like give us an example, even if it's, secular, it's fine.
Yes. Okay. I think of Usher, My Boo. I don't know if you've heard that song.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the one. 8th grade before school, that song always came on. And then there were some, I don't know if you remember Evanescence, that group.
Yes.
They were popular on MTV back then.
Wake me up inside.
Yes. That's the song. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah.
2000s.
2000s. Yes. Oh, good. I love that.
Yeah.
You're right. Yes, music videos are out, but you don't have it's not on I mean, I guess maybe it's on TV. I'm not watching it or
it's on
if
YouTube.
It's, YouTube.
YouTube.
I guess that's.
Yeah. But the production quality is high. And so it's not the same, just.
Right. That's a good throwback. Yeah. That's back when videos were really on TV. You could watch them rather than stream them, I guess. So good.
Yep.
So fun. All right. Well, today's topic, we're going to talk about why this matters. So you know that you don't want your daughter to grow up hating her body. And let me stop right here. this applies to your sons as well. We understand that it applies to sons.
Yes, absolutely.
And Chantia, you will kind of bring us into, how this all got started and all of that too. So you're going to explain more about that.
Yeah, add some context.
Yeah, context. I just want you to hear that, we're not dismissing sons and their struggles with these things as well. But today we're focusing on mothers and daughters, or daughters in general.
Right.
So you know that you don't want your daughter to grow up hating her body, but then sometimes you're still struggling with yours. You want to be her role model, but where do you start? It can just feel overwhelming and confusing. And then diet culture, society, has not made this easy on moms. And so there is this silent struggle that moms are facing. We talk all the time on this show that we grew up with diet culture, and diet culture looks different based on the generation you were in. Like 90s, it was a whole certain way. The 80s were telling you something else. The 70s had their own problems, and then it's these seeds that were planted in our heads. So we grew up and we're still doing these things that we were taught. And, you can't wear horizontal stripes.
Yep.
Really? I can't wear white after Labor Day. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to call it winter white.
Yeah.
I'm going to own it. Isn't that funny? We were supposed to never wear white after Labor Day. Why?
Yeah.
Literally why? Okay. I know that's another topic, but it's I was terrified to wear, was I going to get arrested?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thrown
down
in jail?
Upon. Yeah. What's the punishment here?
Yeah. Okay. So off my soapbox and my rant, God created us to live free to wear white after Labor Day. It's fine.
Yep.
First, we'll go into, let's talk about the root of this struggle. Why is it so hard to talk about body image and food at home? Why does that feel so hard?
Yeah. I mean, you hit on some of the points. We have culture telling us one thing about what really matters. We have the things that we grew up learning as kids and that moms a lot of times don't recognize are just rooted so deeply. And so just in the casual conversations and things, these topics can come up and it makes it challenging. And so if we don't recognize the roots of it and start with ourselves, then we can pass down these patterns that we don't actually want to pass down. So I think those are things that make it hard. And then also just, it can be very nerve-wracking, wondering, am I saying the right thing? Even when I know that these are issues, will I say it in a way that's not helpful? Will I break my daughter, which is not possible? But still, it's just, when moms really care, there's just so much pressure to do it right and to get it perfectly. And the core message is that you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to show up and have the tools.
Yeah, that's a grace-filled lens.
Yep.
You don't have to do it perfectly. Let me repeat. You don't have to do it perfectly. I just want you to hear me say that, because we've put so much pressure on ourselves, and then the shame sets in, and that shame is not coming from the Lord. I will repeat this every episode until, if people want to stop listening, but I just don't feel like I can avoid saying the same thing every episode, because with these topics, shame comes up.
Oh, yeah.
You feel bad and terrible about the things that you've done that you can't take back, and your daughter has seen them or your son has seen them. And all you can do is, have honest conversations, give yourself grace, give yourself love, and remember that shame is not coming from the Lord. It's coming from the enemy. He wants you to beat yourself up. If he can get you to do it, less work for him, right?
Yeah. So true. Yeah, it's such an important message. And when you look at, a lot of the clients that I've worked with over the years in eating disorder recovery, the shame is what keeps the cycle going, so we can step off of that. They can not only do that for themselves, but also to model for their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason why this can be so hard is you have social media nowadays, which has really changed the landscape, especially for kids. For us too as adults, but especially for kids, when you look at the way that it's created to do something in them that isn't biblical. Obviously, we can use it for good, but at its core, it's meant to keep them going, keep them connected and wanting something more. So that has also added another layer of why I think some moms feel almost defeated when they approach the topic of body image and food, all the things with their kids.
Yeah. It's a great point. And we've been talking a lot recently on this show about social media, taking a social media reset, and how social media just gets us, like you were saying, constantly just comparing, and I'm never good enough. My house is never good enough. And I don't have the the best clothes and I need different hair and makeup and just, you feel like you can't. And so if we are struggling as adults like that and our children, whatever age, it's dangerous. It's really dangerous territory. So just
it is
asking the Lord how to have some boundaries that are healthy around that. Or some people choose to not even have social media,
right?
Or not at all.
Some maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we're talking about the root of this struggle, there's a lot of fears that come into play. Saying the wrong thing, I just might make things worse. What else have you seen?
Yep. Not saying the right thing, but also feeling disqualified. If a mom struggles herself, obviously I don't agree with this, but who am I to say anything about body image when I look in the mirror and I don't like what I see? And when I have a hard time approaching food, who am I to teach anybody? But truly, you are the mom that God created for this child, for this daughter. And so you're the perfect person, no matter what you've struggled with. But the enemy can come in and just really try to steal that, and make it feel like we need to give that to somebody else. Like someone else is more qualified to teach my daughter about these things. So I think it's just, like you said, it's that shame just coming in a lot of different forms.
And recognizing those lies, just having that discernment and asking, Lord, give me discernment to see if I have some stinking thinking going on that I've gotten from culture or my own parent or wherever it is, and help me just be gentle with that. Whatever you show me, and not shame myself, just shame off you. Have this awakening. I didn't know what I didn't know, but he's showing me. And now that I know, I can change and do something different. That's repentance.
Yes.
Change and turn around and do something totally different that's better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I found it so helpful too to teach moms about curiosity.
Yes.
So to go from a stance of curiosity. So a lot of times when there's something that we feel like we can't do correctly or not doing perfectly, we go from a judgmental stance, but instead coming from this place of curiosity. Obviously, we can still identify sin. We can still see things for what they are. But coming from that curiosity standpoint, I think it gives us the power to say, how does God see this and how can I shift it from there? Not from that stuck standpoint of this is just who I am.
Love it.
Shame.
You're describing that Christ-centered agency that we're always talking about here. I've got agency with a lens of what does Jesus think? What did he do? What did he say? What does he want for me?
It's so powerful.
So good. So I want to hear your story. And can you share with us the birth of Darling Arise? This is so good.
Yes. Okay. So as you've already mentioned, I work as a therapist. I specialize in eating disorders and Christian counseling. And I'm on the West Coast. And today it's just been very hard. There's a lot of people waiting for treatment. And so where Darling Arise came from was I was kind of in the middle of feeling frustrated and really heartbroken that I couldn't take on more and more clients. I had moms calling and asking for help for their daughters. They couldn't find anyone who worked with eating disorders, or they're looking for someone who specifically worked with believers. And so it was very heartbreaking. And so I was talking to my husband about this one day, just sharing the frustration and how I wish there was a way I could help more people with not having more time. And he actually came up with the idea of, why don't you do a course that helps teach moms these topics so that, you'd have the capacity to do that, and you can give resources to people who wouldn't have access to, individual therapy, or they're on a wait list or whatever it might be. And so it's actually his genius idea. And it felt so nice to be able to say, okay, I can help. I don't have to just sit and watch. And that's where Darling Arise came from.
I just love that that God illuminated that in your husband for him to speak that to you. I don't know. I just find that really special. Can you just give him a hug for me and tell him good job from me? Because I just think that's so great.
Yes. He's a special human being. I mean, again, with the topic of the way that God can use people to change things, use people in our lives the same way he can use moms to change things in their daughters' lives and to speak life into them. He can also use dads, he can use husbands. And so it's just a beautiful way that he uses us as the body of Christ.
Fantastic. Okay, now, the birth of Darling Arise. Let's talk about the title.
Yes. So I was trying to think of names and I came up with a few and they just didn't feel like they had any meaning to me. But I thought of the story in Mark 5, I think it's 5:41, where Jesus tells the little girl, she'd already been dead, and he shows up and he says, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." And that just stuck with me because for two reasons. One, I thought of all the faces of the little girls who metaphorically, just, when you're not eating or you're struggling with food, just really, it kind of looks like death, just death to your purpose, death to the things you used to do, death to your identity. And just thinking of Jesus saying to one of those little girls, like, I say to you, arise. And then thinking of how he's empowered us as moms in our role as mothers to speak life over our children. And I was like, that's it. That's the name. And then you think of the moms too. Like, there's that little girl inside of each of us, whatever you're struggling with, where we need to come alive too. We need Jesus to say that to our situation as well. So that's where the name comes from.
That is so fantastic. And we're going to link Mark 5:41 in the show notes. We link all of our scriptural references in the show notes if you want to go deeper later and you're like, what was that verse? And you don't have time to search it. Little girl, I say to you, arise.
So powerful.
We could do the rest of the episode about that very thing and how deep that is. But I think it really hits me too. The little girl inside of me, I can look back at different times of my life and really just feel tender for that little girl.
Yeah.
And she's still in here. Like, she's still in my body. In my body, it's me.
Yeah.
And so I think that makes it even more personal. Like, the enemy just wants death and destruction for us. Like, our tongue has the power of life or death. Like, we can speak life over ourselves, or we can speak these curses and make agreements with him. And we don't want to do that. So the Lord has been showing me that lately of just really be careful. Do you remember this song when we were kids? You don't, because you're younger than me. Maybe you do.
But it was like, be careful, little eyes, what you see.
Yes.
My daughter listens, the little song.
Yeah, little VBS songs. And
yes.
Yeah. Be careful, little tongue, what you say. And I just think he's kind of gently reminding me of that, of some of the things that have been coming out of my mouth are completely not in line with scripture and don't connect. It's like I'm making agreements with lies rather than agreeing with his truth. And I think sometimes his truth is hard for me to accept because, again, I'm stuck in a cycle of shame somewhere that I think, shame off me, but I'm still there.
You're only human.
Yeah. And he's gentle.
Yeah. He didn't look at the little girl and say, why aren't you living? Wasn't shaken or anything. He just said, little girl, I say to you, arise. There's just so much power and confidence in that. And obviously we're not Jesus, but we're to live by his example, Oh,
I love that you just said that. That's so sweet. Every generation, there are generational curses and there's things that have happened, and we can say it stops with us, and we can choose to make different decisions with our Christ-centered agency that we have. And we can choose to walk in healing, to walk in freedom, to get unburdened, and choose what we pass down. So I know that when we did our pre-production call, you made this comment. We've been walking in patterns we don't want to pass down, often without realizing it. Let's talk through that.
Yes, it's super important. I mean, the work that we do as moms in any area, but since we're talking about body image and food, the work that we do, it not only impacts our daughters, ourselves first, our daughters, but even generations of our family, of our kids' friends, when they come over and we're feeding them snacks and suddenly it's, don't eat those unhealthy snacks, but it's like, gosh, look at these foods that God created and how can they give us the energy we need today so that we can have fun?
Yes.
It can completely change the way that those around us start to look at food. And so it's so much bigger than just our household. And I mean, that's important in itself, but it can extend to generations. And so it's really powerful work to begin to do and to recognize that, we have the power to shift, we have the power to shift these things.
That's really good.
Another thing that I would say too about that, especially since we're going into the holidays here, the different food patterns around the holidays and you have all these different generations. And I think more recently have we been looking at the way that we need to shift these messages around food. And so as moms, when you go into these settings, being able to recognize, okay, grandma's over here talking about which foods you should or shouldn't eat and, all the food rules. As moms, we can step into those spaces and empower our daughters and, shift the narrative so that maybe grandma decides to change, maybe she doesn't, but we can make a little turn for the next generation.
And I love that you're saying that with, I don't hear an ounce of judgment in your voice. You're not like, grandma, or any, it's just like, maybe she'll hear this truth and there's also that, lens of grace of she's been in it a lot longer than we have. Like a lot of times we don't even hear it. It's so ingrained in us. We were raised in it. We don't know that it's damaging to ourselves and others.
Right.
And so the holidays may not be the time to have this big, deep discussion with our mom, or our grandma.
Yeah.
It's probably wise that on the drive there or to carve out some time to have that little discussion of like these events, you'll hear diet culture talk and shaming around food. So just be aware of it. Don't internalize it.
Yeah.
Just maybe say a little prayer for them or for them to find freedom.
Absolutely.
And for yourself to like, okay, help this bounce off of me and not get in to my head. Help me also have self-control if I want, sometimes we want to rise up and be like, let me tell you about diet culture. And like, just, is that the time? Like,
there's a place for sure.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing is if we're already having these conversations with our daughters, I mean, a lot of us, I think, have grown up thinking that these struggles don't start until high school. They don't start till high school or until puberty, but really research shows that they're starting a lot earlier. And so if we're starting these conversations just very gently when our daughters are 5, and it doesn't have to be the super big, let's sit down and have a lesson, but it's just in the everyday things. So when we show up to Thanksgiving and Christmas, she's like, oh yeah, I'm allowed to have pie. I know that God created this and I need the sugar for this and the fat for this and the fruit for this. I know those things. And so when so-and-so makes a comment about how I need to watch how much pie I'm eating, I just say, you know what? Thank God that he created pie and I really enjoy it. I know how to eat these things in a way that really serves my body and serves a bigger purpose of why God has me here. And, she might not go on a soapbox and have that whole speech, but within herself to know for sure, no matter what people say, I know because my mom has taught me, or, and dad too, because he'd be part of the message as well.
So good. And then when you see your child just kind of respond in the ways that you're trying to teach them, and it's coming naturally.
So powerful.
Oh, what just a joy and I thank God. Yeah, like that's what I would be like. Oh, I just want to praise the Lord right now.
Yes.
Because it's sinking in. Yeah.
Yes. Well, and then what way to shift grandma, it could be anyone, but let's just say grandma just because of the generation. What way to shift her then to see a child say something like that and really believe it and say, gosh, well, maybe that's helpful for me to rethink too.
Yeah. And you also said something previously about what you model matters more than what you say. And so again, no shame here. If you've been modeling something that felt non-helpful, I don't know if that's the right way to say that, that maybe wasn't as beneficial, you didn't know what you didn't know. And sometimes we know and we just make that choice. It just happens, shame off of us. And now it's like we can stop and think, what do I want to model?
Yeah.
And I think transparency, people value loving transparency.
Yes.
When you can say, I used to make some really hateful comments about my body. You probably saw me like feeling stressed out about what to eat when we went to a restaurant, or you would see me, and I don't want to be like that anymore. Will you help me? Like, I mean, maybe you don't ask the kid to help you. Maybe you do. Not the kid, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe
I hear what you mean. Yeah.
Like, don't put additional pressures. Your daughter. Yeah, let's do this together. And maybe not. I don't know. You have to make that decision for you. But I think just kind of being transparent and talking through it. I mean, do you feel like that's helpful?
Yes, because it also models that you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Because it's important for parents to show, like, I'm not perfect. And so when you make the mistake, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just part of being human. And the growth in that is in being able to say, yes, I made a mistake. And here's where I have the power to change it. So I think it's very powerful. And even for moms who, do a course like Darling Arise and they have the information, they still might have those days where, they're looking in the mirror just with the very obvious, not kind look on their face, and they look over and their daughter's staring at them and you're kind of, and that's just saying, hey, you know what? You standing there just makes me realize, gosh, I should really work on seeing myself the way that God sees me in this moment. So here's what I'm going to speak over myself. This is what God says about me right now. And I'm having a hard time believing it right now, but this is something I'm going to work on.
Love that.
Just being real.
At Finding Balance, we believe freedom is not found in diets or body image. It is found only in Jesus. That's why we've created tools like our daily vitamin devotionals, prayer groups, and community and the Lasting Freedom course to encourage you on your journey. So check them out at FINDINGbalance.com and take your next step toward freedom in Him. I think our kids appreciate us being real more than we realize it. And I think they see a lot more than we want to admit that they probably see.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's helpful. And I know you also mentioned something about shifting the goal. You want to talk about that? Because I think that's really questioning the goal
For sure.
and shifting it.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important part is that when you look at our culture, a lot of times when we're doing good work, like in the secular space, a lot of times it's just for the sake of self-love and feeling better about ourselves. And while on the surface, it's not a bad thing necessarily, as believers, the work is so that we can help our daughters to become a force and focus on their purpose and not be distracted by their bodies. Their bodies are actually going to be the vessel through which God can create change and get them to their purpose. And so the goal isn't just to have them, love their bodies and feel great about themselves, but it's to be able to step aside so they can look forward and they can put their eyes on Jesus and not have it be on all the other distractions the enemy tries to use to make us not like ourselves, honestly.
Mm-hmm. I just think that's so good to be a force for God's kingdom and walk in her purpose.
Yes, that's what it's about.
Yeah, it's what it's about. And healing impacts more than your daughter.
It does.
Your own healing impacts you. It impacts your daughter. Her healing, impacts generations to come, and her culture. It impacts your family, your community, the culture around us. Church culture can really impact that. This is big. And also I say this is big, not to put pressure on you or feel like, now I've got so much pressure to get it right. No, grace-filled lens.
Yes.
With curiosity, gentle curiosity. But I just think if you are going to pause this right now and write something down, empower her to be a force for God's kingdom and walk in her purpose. And Lord, empower me to be a force for your kingdom and walk in my purpose and help me model that and have these great discussions. Oh, it's so good. So there are some small, powerful shifts that our listeners can make today. Let's talk through some of those because I don't want everyone to come away from this feeling, overwhelmed because it just feels big. Because I get it. If you feel like this is so big, I get it. I hear you. I see you because I'm feeling it for my bonus daughter as well. And what can I do? I can take one next step at a time with the Lord and ask Him. I can listen for what He might be leading me to. So here are some things He may be wanting you to focus on today.
Yes. And before I say that, I want to speak to what you were just talking about. A lot of times we take it on of okay, great. Now I have this big thing. I think it's important for everyone listening to remember that we don't do anything good without the Holy Spirit guiding us. And so the moment that we feel like, how am I going to do this? That's where we have to pause and say, okay, that's the beginning work then is I'm not doing this. This is God within me being able to create change. Anything good that I do is only because of Jesus. And so it takes the burden off of having to do it perfectly because it's I can't do it perfectly because I am not a perfect person, but God is perfect. And with His guidance, I can know how to do these things or how to put these things into action. So when you start to feel that, just starting to surrender and say, oh yeah, it was never me in the first place.
Hey, come on.
And it's freeing.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, a few things. The first one, just watching how we talk about our bodies. Simple, watching how we talk about bodies, how we talk about food. And I will also say I've worked with some kids where even watching TV, commenting on bodies, even when it's done in a joking manner, depending on the child, it can really have an impact. And so just being mindful of that. She's always listening to what we're saying.
Yes.
A second thing is dropping the good and bad food labels, beginning to see food for the way that God created them. I think something that can be very challenging I've heard in conversations with moms is, okay, but what about when my kid says they want to eat candy all day? Then what do I say? How do I explain that? That's where we can get back to, like I said before, God created all foods. And so what is the purpose of them? How can we be excited about what cucumbers do for us? What did God put in those and what impact does it have on us biologically? What's in candy? There's times where we just need a very quick energy burst when our kids are screaming, we need to clean the house really quick. Yes, I'll have some Sour Patch Kids and then I'll have some protein after that to sustain me or whatever it might be. But it's not that the Sour Patch Kids are bad. It's just that they have a purpose that maybe can't be fulfilled when I'm about to sit down and take a 3-hour test.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very different message. So just seeing food as a gift and not as a moral issue, it's not good or bad, and seeing what the nutrients, seeing what God created. It can be a beautiful thing. I know it can also be a scary thing. So working on that too can be a really important piece of the puzzle. And then the last thing I'll say is just celebrating what our body does and not just how it looks.
Yes.
For some, they may be able to be at a place where they can celebrate the way their body looks. For others, that might be a longer journey, or it might be something that they kind of a neutral relationship with their body. And so being able to do things that feel good for our body, celebrate it with movement, whether that's walking, whether that's swimming, whatever it might be, just getting back to kind of celebrating with all of these things versus the shame kind of heavy approach that culture has wanted us to do. Because it makes money for the diet culture, you know?
Right. We're feeding them.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just like feeding the machine. I don't want to do that.
Yep.
I'm sick of that.
Nope. Yeah. It's not fun feeding something that we don't actually agree with. But, you know, it happens if we're not aware.
Yeah. You also mentioned, I don't want to always steal your words, but you
That's okay.
mentioned so many good things, and I was like jotting them all down. The seeds of self-worth matter more than you think.
Yep.
I think that's so good. The seeds of self-worth matter more than you think, because sometimes we look in the mirror and we just feel worthless.
Mm-hmm.
But some self-worth, knowing that we are made in his image, that he loves us. He called us good. We are wonderfully made. It's one thing to hear that. It's another thing to believe it and feel it.
Yes, it is.
Yet, how can we step into that? I know that wasn't really on this, but like,
Yeah.
Is there anything that you could speak to that?
Mm-hmm. Like self-worth, like how to really get rooted in that.
How to know what God's truth is, and we're feeling something totally different.
Yeah.
What would you say to like help us just kind of find the balance in between it?
Yes. Outside of Christian therapy, because I think that's a beautiful space for that. I've worked with a lot of clients on, okay, we know what the word says and we want to believe it logically, but here it doesn't feel like it actually resonates. You know, that could be a journey that someone can go through in counseling too. And moms can go through if they really find that they're struggling. But the messages that we get are just bombarding us every day, whether they're good or bad. I think a lot of them are bad because we're in the world. And so because of that, we need to be intentional about offsetting that with the truth. And so biblical affirmation, speaking the truth over us at the same rate, I mean, more really, but at least at the same rate of all the negative messages that we're getting in commercials, billboards.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. And so we can't expect to have those things flow out naturally and to have those seeds rooted. It's like all the gunk is trying to water it daily, and we're not being intentional about weeding it out and overpowering it. So I think the biggest thing is just, you know, we know it's true, but almost like dousing ourselves in it daily so that we feel that it's true. And then we begin to see the work of that. We begin to see the results of it. You know, when it starts to grow, then it's like, okay, then it just starts to reinforce itself. And I know it sounds very simple, but, you know, with a lot of the things that God has done, I think he knows that we're not as bright as he is. And he's made it simple as it can be for us humans. He didn't try to make it rocket science because he knew Chantia is not going to understand that. So I don't want to discount her.
That's good. Yes. And we find ourselves in some tricky moments, right? Some tricky situations where I feel like you all also said this, faith and food don't have to be not intentionally in tension, a place of tension. God created both for our good, faith and food. So you mentioned the holidays. So we're navigating holidays. We might have a college-age daughter coming home from college for the break. And there might be some noticeable changes, like the parent might observe your daughter acting different, or the daughter's been away for a few months and she comes home and now she's seeing, oh, I'm seeing things in a new light because I've had some time away, or now there's family dynamics and, you know, body shaming and diet talk and things like that. I know a lot of times families will get together and kind of talk about their diets and, you know, compare themselves with someone else, or just all the diet chatter. So, Chantia, what would you say about that? Any advice or things that we want to be aware of?
Yeah. So something to be mindful of, because I've seen it many times. I've seen it in, I guess they're teenagers, 19, 20, 20-somethings coming to me. They come home from college and they get one of two responses. Wow, you look great. Have you been working out? Have you been dieting? what have you been doing? Or the opposite, where, do you need to change your diet? Do you need to work out more? Just these comments about their appearance, coming home, being excited to be with your family, and then having to be overly focused on your body physically can be really, really harmful and damaging unintentionally. I believe most parents do not do that intentionally. And so something I'd really advise is just seeing her, looking beyond, seeing her. If she has any health issues, if she's having a hard time moving her body, if she's having different health symptoms, okay, that's a separate discussion, not because of the way that she looks, but because of the health things that are coming up. And so the first thing, as a mom, if you notice a difference in your child, regardless of what that looks like physically, when they come home, just talk to them as a person and see if you notice anything coming up. For some, I've gotten some referrals after college because food behaviors, food patterns have come back once a daughter has left home. And so there's some concerns about that. But I would say as much as possible, trying to see her, look into her eyes and see like what's happening for you, because that can sometimes inform more than just body changes.
Yes, that's really good. And to put yourself in her shoes of coming home, and we hear the stupid freshman 15. Like, I just wish that was never said. And it was, I guess, wasn't it like a magazine article, like one news report or magazine article that someone said that was like how they titled it years and years ago, like,
and it just
maybe
stuck.
The 80s, I don't know, but it stuck. And now there's so much shame around it.
There
I'm
is.
thinking like if I come home from college, I feel like my clothes are fitting different. Also, my body is still growing. I'm still growing. Like you think, I graduated from high school. Everything's just like, I'm going to stay this size forever.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. We're still changing.
Bless. Like,
yeah. So just having compassion, remembering how it felt like if you had that experience coming home from college and wondering, do I look different? Just having the compassion and just being so connecting with her as a human, going back to that self-worth, connecting with who she is, calling that out of her. God will work everything else out if it needs to be worked out, if there need to be any changes, which a lot of times there doesn't need to be. But from a health standpoint, okay, we can talk about that separate then from body,
Right. Moments of grace.
Yeah.
Not shame.
Yes.
At the table. Yeah. And being there and listening, if she wants to bring that up, she may be like expecting you to mention it. What if you don't mention it? What if that tells her it doesn't even matter to you?
Yeah.
And if she feels something that is going on in her body that's wrong, or if she feels embarrassed and shameful about it and she said, I'm sorry that I've gained weight, like she's disappointing, that can lead in a whole different direction. I'm sure that your first year of college, there's a lot of freedom. Like you get to choose. You have a lot of choices and you're getting to choose those and we're not influencing you. Like there's different foods and you're enjoying them. And what if that's just part of it? How freeing.
Yeah. Part of figuring out, trusting yourself, being able to have freedom. Yeah.
Yes. So good. So what word of encouragement would you want to give our listeners today?
Yeah, I would just go back to what I was sharing earlier. When you start to feel overwhelmed by this topic and the influence that you have over your daughter, just remember that when you're rooted in Christ, it's not about our power anymore or our ability anymore. It's about leaning on his strength and his knowledge, because ultimately he knows her and what she needs way more than we do. And he loves her way more than we do. And so when you start to feel yourself get in the way of that process, just surrendering it and saying, you know what, Lord, I can't do it, but you can. So just guide me. It just takes the pressure off.
Yeah, it really does. And God's grace is already moving in your story. You're not alone. We have a place at Finding Balance for you, and we have a Prayers for Loved Ones group. If you have a daughter who might be struggling with her own struggles, whether you are or not, we have the Prayers for Loved Ones. So if you want to get with other moms who understand this struggle and they're bringing it with you to Jesus, and if you can't even lift your arms, they're there to virtually lift your arms for you and pray through this with you. And God can offer you a new way to speak and model and live out healing as you're walking through those struggles together with other women. But if you want to go deeper than that, that is a great place to start. You can find links in our show notes to connect with Chantia. And if you want to take the Darling Arise course, you can go to darlingarise.com and learn all about it. I just think it's a beautiful thing. She has also generously given us a link for 3 free resources for moms raising body confident daughters. So please check those out. I think that's a great place to start as well. So, hey, if something from today's episode resonated with you, if you would like to share some positive feedback for Chantia, or if you have a question or a story or a topic that you'd love for us to explore in the future, you can text us, you can email us, or leave us a voicemail. We have links to do all of those in the show notes. Chantia, thank you so much for being here. This was fantastic.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Old School Food Freedom Podcast. For over 20 years, Finding Balance has been helping people walk in freedom by discovering where Jesus fits into their struggles with food and body image. If you want more biblical truth and encouragement, head on over to FINDINGbalance.com and subscribe to our free daily vitamin devotional. While you're there, explore our Christ-centered Lasting Freedom online course and small group tools. You can help keep this ministry going by donating today at FINDINGbalance.com. See you next time. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, or prescribe a particular course of action. If you have or suspect you may have an eating disorder, please consult your healthcare provider. If you desire to receive faith-based care, visit ChristianTreatmentFinder.com to browse professionals with a Kingdom campaign against eating disorders.